Hi there, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Ben Jones. Following on from Argentina's unemployment rate release, I have Fiona Mackie on the line to discuss what's currently weighing on the Argentinian economy. Now, Fiona, I'd like to begin by asking you about the current stagnant economy. Growth has been shrinking from the start of 2014. What's been causing this?
Argentina is now feeling the effects of the huge distortions created by many years of dramatic monetary and fiscal expansion. The Fernandez government has pursued growth at all costs, and though for a long time that's produced a consumer spending boom, it also produced rampant inflation that's really had a severe knock-on impact on export competitiveness. That's really problematic for Argentina because more than a decade on from the huge 2001 crisis, the country still doesn't have access to international capital markets and is seriously dependent on running a trade surplus to support the reserves and the peso. So rampant inflation has hit real wages and exports, but most importantly, it's really damaged investor confidence. It's put serious pressure on the peso, and it's heightened speculation of a major devaluation this year. So in this context, fixed investment has plummeted, and the consumer boom has turned to bust. Sovereign default earlier this year wasn't immediately disastrous, but it's also provided another shock to confidence, and it's keeping confidence and activity subdued.
Now, it's been stated that in January there's a potential for some restructuring, which would potentially end Argentina's feud with holdout bond investors. This would then raise hopes for the economy. Could you elaborate on this?
A deal with holdout creditors really would be a boost for the economy. It would eliminate external financing constraints, provide fresh access to dollars from yield-seeking international investors, and this in turn would probably eliminate devaluation speculation in a relatively short period of time. That's not the only problem with Argentina's economy. Fiscal and monetary policy do need to be tightened, and there's also been an erosion of the rule of law and contract rights during the current government that does really need to be addressed. But the next presidential election is taking place not that far off, in October 2015, and there are market expectations of improvements here too. So a deal with the holdouts would solve a lot of the government's problems. However, it's still really uncertain whether the government will choose to negotiate with the holdouts. The troublesome RUFO clause in the exchange bonds expires at the start of 2015, and that would eliminate one major obstacle to a deal. But you have to remember that historically it's been a point of principle for the Fernandez government not to negotiate with the holdouts. And immediately after default, in fact, the government made it pretty clear that this was a problem it was going to leave for the next administration. However, there's the possibility that pressure on the reserves and the peso could get so bad in coming weeks and months that the government is in effect forced to agree a deal with holdouts, even if this means it loses face politically.
And finally, the unemployment rate has been released for Argentina. It stayed at 7.5%. So do you think the levels could fall to the low of 6.4% again, or is 7.5% more of a natural level?
An unemployment rate of 7.5% is not that high by historical standards for Argentina, but I'd say there are two provisos there. The first is that there are serious questions over the reliability and the quality of the official data. These have in the past tended to understate inflation and overstate the level of economic activity. The second is that the unemployment rate would be a lot higher, except that the labor force is actually shrinking, and that's something that frequently occurs during a recession when job seekers effectively give up looking for work. But in the near term, and even in the medium term, we're unlikely to see unemployment falling back down towards its recent lows of around 6%, as it will take some time for imbalances to be addressed and for investment to pick up. So unlike other countries in Latin America, Argentina really isn't going to be facing problems caused by a tight labor market for the foreseeable future. What it will need to do as a priority is rein in inflation by tightening fiscal policy. That would help restore external competitiveness and allow for a recovery in real wages, employment, and private consumption.
Fiona, thank you very much for joining me on the line today. That's all we have time for now. Keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV though for plenty more updates and exclusive interviews. Bye for now.